and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. We have a lot of stories lined up for you today, so let's get started with a look at the day's highlights. We take an in-depth look at the government's latest plans to promote 7 fields in Korea's service industry, as it believes that manufacturing alone can no longer fuel growth. You can now fly your drones at a special park in Seoul, which recently opened along the Hangang River in line with the government's efforts to help expand the fast-growing drone market. These stories and more coming right up. And as you just saw, Korea's stock markets were not immune to the global market slide as fears surrounding Brexit reared their heads again against a backdrop of lackluster growth prospects worldwide. During a jittery Asian trading day, the benchmark Kospi saw massive losses, but pared some of that back, ending 1.85% lower. Japan's Nikkei at one point retreated 3.2% on the back of a strengthened yen. It did, however, manage to recover also to minus 1.85%. Returning from a 4th of July holiday, all 3 major indices retreated on Wall Street. Dow Jones and S&P 500 both shed more than 60 basis points, while the Nasdaq slipped by more than 80 basis points. Earlier, Germany's DAX and France's CAC 40 had both clocked a near 2% retreat, though Britain's FTSE 100 did manage to claw back to positive territory in afternoon trading. And the British pound has dropped to a 31-year low against a greenback amid growing concerns about the financial stability of the UK after its decision to leave the EU. The sterling sank deeper in midday trading hours in Asia to below $1.30, reaching its lowest level since 1985. That left the pound 14% weaker than it was before the June 23rd referendum. This is after Bank of England Governor Mark Carney said on Tuesday that the risks identified ahead of the Brexit vote has started to quote-unquote crystallize, and that the fall in the pound is necessary to allow for economic adjustment. Carney also added the BOE will free roughly 150 billion pounds, equivalent to about 198 billion US dollars, to prop up the economy. Analysts at major banks predict more weakness for the sterling to come, with Deutsche Bank predicting the currency to slide to $1.15 by the end of the year. Korea's Finance Minister Yoo Il-ho plans to actively counter economic crises through steady fiscal support if external risks become a reality. Speaking at a financial strategy meeting on Wednesday, the minister said Korea is facing a growing number of challenges that sway market sentiment, such as Brexit and provocations from North Korea, which can weigh down the local and global economy. He asked that all government offices work to create more fiscal flexibility before turning to state coffers for assistance and to increase investment efficiency. During the meeting, officials also discussed measures to build a legal framework to improve the nation's fiscal soundness and agree to draft and submit a related bill to the National Assembly. So just yesterday reported on the government's 5-year plan to boost Korea's service sector, and today we take a closer look at the measures proposed and how they'll change our daily lives, and also how they should be implemented to maximize the results. And for more on this, our Hwang Jae joins us in the studio today. Hi, Jia.
Hey, Ji-yoon.
All right, so before we get started, can you first tell us more about what plans were laid out yesterday?
Sure. In a nutshell, the government basically said that it will reduce the tax burden and boost financial support for the service industry so that they can receive benefits similar to those enjoyed by the manufacturing industry. To give you some details, Korea plans to double its ratio of R&D investment set aside for services to 6%. And expand financial support by roughly 13 billion US dollars by 2020. The government will focus its support on 7 specific fields, including medical services, tourism, and entertainment content. Now, with these measures, the government aims to add 250,000 jobs in these fields in the next 5 years and expects the country's annual growth rate to tick up by 0.1 to 0.2 percentage points every year until 2020. What the government really wants, though, is to create an environment that encourages more investment in the sector so that the players themselves drive the industry, not the government.
Now, we're surrounded by services everywhere we go, so I think it's more than just boosting the industry, but for making things easier for people who use these services. So what's going to change?
So apart from bolstering investment and support, the government announced it will roll back regulations laying out plans to allow so-called telehealth, which distributes health-related services and information through telecommunication technologies. It allows long-distance contact between patients and doctors, or even between hospitals in rural areas with those in central Seoul and other urban areas. People will also be able to get their hands on a wider range of medical supplies at convenience stores and will be able to receive their contact lenses or prescription glasses through parcel services.
I mean, so does the road ahead look pretty smooth, or are there any expected setbacks?
Of course, one of the obvious will be the getting all this through the National Assembly, which will review the measures so that they can be turned into laws and actually be put in place. And experts say it's unlikely that the Parliament will swiftly approve the government's plan this time, although this, to many, this does not come as a surprise. Take a listen.
They include a lot of issues like telehealth and post-consent on the use of personal information, which are sensitive topics. These will require support from both the public and Parliament, so whether this will be effective remains to be seen.
The expert also called for consistency when it comes to such measures. He said similar government plans to boost the service sector as the country's next growth engine had surfaced during the former administration of late President Roh Moo-hyun. That is back in the early 2000s. Now, the measures this time also have a time frame of 5 years when the current Park Geun-hye administration's term technically has less than 2 years to get things moving. Facing such skepticism, the Deputy Finance Minister vowed to push through the plans as soon as possible at yesterday's press conference, saying the government will try to complete the implementation by at least the second half of next year.
So I guess all of this comes in line with the government's efforts to, boost job growth as well as find new growth engines. But why the emphasis on the service sector?
Good question. Now, all this comes as the country faces two changing dynamics. One, as many are aware, is the heavy reliance on exports and manufacturing that has slowed down economic expansion. Fierce competition from China has weighed on these conventional growth engines as well, especially with a lot of Chinese producers quickly catching up with Korea on quality competitiveness. Second, the huge chunk of employment that services account for in the overall job market, it comes to around 70%. But the problem is a lot of these jobs are low value added positions that cannot contribute much to more robust growth. So in light of this all, the government wants to give the industry an extra push to see it pull its weight in the economy.
So it's all about quality, not really about quantity,
Exactly.
right? Thank you so much for coming in today, Ji-hye.
Thanks for having me.
Korea is planning to shut down 10 aging coal-fired thermal power generators as part of the government's effort to address climate change and cut down fine dust levels. According to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy on Wednesday, 8 generators within 4 plants will be shut down gradually over the next decade, and 2 will change their source of power generation from coal to biomass by 2017. All of the coal power generators are over 30 years old and nearing the end of their lifespan. Those that are around 20 years old will undergo compartmental changes to enhance efficiency and reduce emissions. Coal-fired power plants that are currently under construction will face stricter emission standards. Officials expect the measures will help reduce fine dust levels by 24% by the year 2030 from the levels seen last year. Hyundai Motor and its affiliate Kia Motors saw their sales nearly quadruple in Mexico in the first half of this year from a year ago. According to data compiled by the Mexican Automotive Industry Association, the two automakers sold a combined 40,264 units in Mexico in the first 6 months of this year, compared with just over 11,000 the previous year. The jump in sales is due largely to Gia, which has shown a strong performance since entering the Mexican market last July. Gia accounted for 3.3% of the market, taking 9th place. Hyundai's sales jumped over 52% on year, making up 2.3% of the Mexican market. Creative Korea, that's the new national slogan that the government has picked for Korea, replacing the country's long-defunct slogan, Dynamic Korea. Our Park Ji-won tells us more.
Korea's global popularity in the area of K-pop, K-beauty, and K-drama has helped the Korean government pick its new advertising slogan of Creative Korea. The design was inspired by Korea's traditional taegeuk pattern and colors of red and blue, while the slogan was chosen through a national contest. The new slogan aims to represent the exciting contrast of tradition and modernity and the creativity of the Korean people. The slogan is also meant to embody the country's intangible and creative assets.
Out of 1.2 million keywords collected through national brand contests and events, we finally chose Creative Korea after consulting with experts on key values.
The promotional video for the slogan shows recent examples of globally popular Korean culture, including TV show Descendants of the Sun, Go Master Lee Se-dol, the first Korean winner of the International Chopin Piano Competition Cho Sung-jin, and K-pop group Big Bang, all reflecting the creative power of Korea.
We expect the new slogan, Creative Korea, will integrate globally popular images of Korean wave and K-pop, K-drama, K-beauty, and so forth.
The ministry hopes to promote the new slogan with the help of government agencies and foreign media, especially during the upcoming Olympics in Rio and Pyeongchang. The new slogan replaces Dynamic Korea, used since the 2002 World Cup in Korea. Park Ji-won, Business Daily.
Korea's drone market is expected to grow to as big as $86 million in the next 3 years. And recognizing the market's growth potential, the Korean government has eased some regulations covering drones, with the first step being opening up a new drone park here in Seoul. Our Lee Joo-young has this story.
Drone enthusiasts in the country have something to be happy about. The Seoul city government has opened its first drone park at the Gwangnaru Hangang Park in eastern Seoul, where people can put their drones in action without special permission.
It took a long time and was not easy to get approval from the security department. So in order to meet the increasing demands, we designated and opened a drone park where people can freely fly their drones.
Operating these unmanned aerial vehicles is banned in many places around the country, especially around the northern parts of the capital. Areas around key public facilities, military installations, and nuclear power plants are also no-fly zones.
In Seoul, most areas are restricted airspace, so there are very few places to fly drones. But I'm very glad to have a place nearby where I can do exactly that.
The new drone park is a part of the country's broader deregulation campaign to lift restrictions that are hampering fields with strong growth potential like drones, the biotech industry, and autonomous vehicles to boost economic growth. In light of this, the Land Ministry announced back in May that it will greenlight all drone-related businesses as long as they don't undermine public safety or national security. The 27,000 square meter park, the size of 4 soccer fields, can accommodate up to 30 people at any given time, so they can fly drones weighing less than 12 kilograms at an altitude of 150 meters. Reservations are on a first-come, first-served basis, but once users secure a spot, they can set their drones free for up to 3 hours. Lee Joo-young, Business Daily.
When it comes to food, it used to be that people bought in bulk for a better price. But as the summer heat kicks up, the trend spotted in Korea nowadays is buying much smaller portions. Our Eunice Kim tells us more.
Pre-packaged beef for a party of one, a block of fish that's already been cleaned, and a 300-gram pack of rice all attract the eye.
With the warmer weather, I'm buying smaller portions because it's fresher and more convenient.
Recent government data shows the ratio of single-person households has multiplied nearly sixfold over the 35 years through 2010. And as more people are living alone and not cooking as often at home, the choices at the supermarket are changing too. It's not just perishables either. Processed foods are becoming more bite-sized as well. Snacks like choco pie and Together ice cream that had for decades been marketed for sharing are being sold in quantities friendly for consuming alone. The trend is sending changes to the spirits section too. Soju sheds its typical glass bottle for plastic for easy transport on hiking trips. And anju, light snacks accompanying alcoholic drinks, also come in single-person portions. Those made of ground peas and chicken breast are especially attractive for their low calories.
As more people drink alone at home, we're introducing new products with lower calories and in smaller portions.
Eating less and eating fresh. Lighter foods are attracting a swarm of consumers in Korea's supermarkets this summer. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.